Welcome, everybody. Tonight's topic is the first 6 miles, the most important area of the entire LA Marathon, the first 6 miles, which we're going to be doing this Saturday. So please, everybody, try and get there so you can really, in firsthand experience what you're going to do on race day for the first 6+ miles of the LA Marathon. And if you screw it up Saturday, no one will care less a darn. But if you screw it up on race day, that's a problem because then you got 20+ miles to go to the finish line. So hopefully, even if you screw it up this Saturday, who cares? You'll get it right on race day because you'll know where you went wrong. Regardless, we're going to have another talk about that as we progress through this discussion. And let me share my screen really quick. And here we go. Let's start from the beginning. Hopefully, you guys all see this. Thank you all for coming in today and watching it via either the recorded version or the live version, which I'm doing right now, and with a bunch of people online. We have about 30 people online. I just noticed. At any rate, here we go. If you have a body, you are an athlete. There you have it from the inventor of the Nike shoe, former coach at University of Oregon. At any rate, this is me. Actually, that's an old bio. I'm now a level 3 USA track and field coach, regardless of the book that I co-wrote. All right. Now, we're going to be talking about the first 6 miles. We're going to be talking about the benefits of taper, the final taper. Don't forget, this week is a taper before our last build week, which is this coming starting Monday, is our final build week, the week to really focus on your last shot, your last ditch effort of building more fitness to enable you to go a little faster. And then we're going to talk about the benefits and how you go faster just from doing a taper. Now, the 4 hour groups and faster are going to actually only have 2.5 weeks of taper. Everybody else has about 3 weeks of taper. We're going to discuss taper in a minute. I really briefly, I'm going to talk about race day rituals and some emotional stuff, psychological stuff to start thinking about before race day. So let's dive into it. And here we go. Um, Before we get into taper, let's get rid of this and let's go to another slide where we are going to take a look at the first 6 miles. Hopefully, you're seeing the first 6 miles right here of the LA Marathon. And here's the elevation chart which goes with it. Now, this little loop here at the end is where you're going to add up to 10 miles on Saturday. But ignore that little loop there because that's just Saturday. That has absolutely nothing to do with the LA Marathon. It's just the little additional. So let's start. You're looking at point B. Point A is actually hidden below point B. That's where we start. And actually, we'll end this Saturday. This is this Saturday's route, but it also happens to be most of it the first 6 miles. So here we go. You're starting there inside this little horseshoe thing is the stadium. We're in the back of the stadium. We were on the starting line where we will be again this Saturday, and where the real starting line will be. We were there a couple weeks ago when I announced this is the starting line where I was standing when you all kind of left. That's where we'll start again. So, right from the starting line, look at this. Right off the bat, you're going up a big third of a mile hill. You're at 100 and whoops, you're at about excuse me, you're at about 513 foot vertical. Uh, I'm looking into this elevation chart where it says elevation. We're at 15 yards into our race. You're at 513 foot vertical. I don't think I can get it to zero. Nah, that's pretty tough. Anyway, call it 513 foot vertical. And by only 428 yards, roughly about a 0.3 miles, you're jumping almost 30 feet in that short distance to 542 feet. So that's really 29-foot vertical climb call it 30-foot vertical climb in just like 0.3 miles. That's right out of the starting line. You'll note the little blue dot. I don't know if you can see the little blue dot right off the B. You see that blue dot moving there? You'll note that blue dot is just at the edge of the stadium. You're just leaving the stadium right now in this phase of the race, about zero point 0.3 miles, 428 yards into your race. So what happens? People racing, you got a ton of energy, people with balloons, helicopters flying overhead, everybody kind of nervous and excited and cheering, and the gun goes off and people are cheering and screaming, and you hear what just before the gun goes off, you hear this blaring music over the loudspeakers, the 80s song, I love LA. Do, 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 do. Every year it's becomes a part of your psyche. That's the same song they do every year. Ballet. And this is blaring over the loudspeakers. It is a thrilling moment as everyone slowly starts to walk to the starting line. And then when you hit the starting line, people start to jog and then a little faster, and a little faster and faster. And obviously, when people way in the back will be walking and they'll be walking across the finish line and continue walking. But exciting start. However, you're also starting up on this good, solid uphill. It will be the downhill that when you drove into the stadium before, and when you drive into the stadium this Saturday, it will be closed on race day because that's the race course. But this Saturday, we'll drive down that first hill that you first ran up the last time we were at Dodger Stadium. Um, and right out of the bat, you're raising your heart rate because you got all this energy, you got all this stress, all this just exuberance, and you're flying up. Your glycogen levels are on full, your hydration levels are on full, your sodium levels are on full, tons of energy, and you're flying out. Your hormone levels are on full because of the taper. Your strength is on full because of the taper, and you're flying up this hill, which huge mistake right out of the gate. Okay. Then look at the elevation chart on the left. If you can't see this, please let me know. Anyway, now you got a nice downhill glide, sort of. You got a little, downhill, and then you got crossing. You cross over the side street, which is Stadium Way, which will of course be closed on race day, but not this Saturday. Stadium Way, you have a little downhill, yes, but then a little uphill on Stadium Way. Then it continues. Now you hit Sunset. You're right at the corner of Sunset there. And now you got a really nice solid glide all the way down to right there is the archway to your left of Chinatown, that big ornate archway that goes over the entire street, the archway into Chinatown. Now you are already at like 2.28 miles, and you've gone from all the way up here, what was it, like 542 feet, all the way down to about, let's call it 311 feet. So you've just dropped what, 540 to 311? What is that, 130-foot vertical drop in about a mile and a half, sort of? That's a pretty sizable, nice downhill. So what people do is you'll hear them scream out, use the downhill. Come on, let's do it. Use the downhill. And these people whose heart rates are already elevated from just leaving the stadium, leaving the start line, and leaving the stadium there, the very beginning, this little area right in here, right? Now they're flying down this hill. Their heart rates are still elevated. Um, and they're flying down that hill. They've now gone over 2 miles. There, if you're at a 10-minute per mile pace, you're now just lost about 20 minutes worth of glycogen. Now, the average non-pro athlete, as I always say, has about 80 to 90 minutes of glycogen. So theoretically, if let's call it 80 to play safe, if you've just lost 20 minutes of your glycogen of 80 minutes, you have just thrown away about a quarter of your glycogen reserves in the first 2.25 miles of the LA Marathon. And that's what a lot of people do. And you will see it. Don't do this. That's why the first 6 miles is the key to the whole LA Marathon. They've just thrown away these people who are excited and use the downhill. I mean, you can do the downhill at like race pace, maybe a hair faster, but keep in mind you're coming off that uphill. You want to keep that uphill really, really slow so you're not really going to make up for that uphill. You're already starting out behind schedule, and that's okay. That's where you want to be in the first 10K, the first 6+ miles of the race, is you want to be behind schedule. And I'm going to explain why as we progress. Now, going through this little loop right here, this little kind of almost not closed rectangle right there, that's all Chinatown. That's all, if you look at the elevation chart, it's pretty flat through Chinatown right in there. You got a little hump. Right over here is where you're getting, and this, I find this area fascinating. Take a look to your left as you're running through this little area here. It's relatively flat, but it is the first Hispanic little villa, truthfully. It is the first hotel in Los Angeles. It is no longer, I think it says Pico on it, the Pico Hotel. It is not a working hotel, probably for obvious reasons, because I think it's about 150 years old or something. But it was the first hotel in Los Angeles. Um, and right with it is the first little Hispanic villa, and they still have a lot of mariachi players and um, stuff there. It's a pretty cool little thing that still exists and is still usable, although the hotel is not, but it is still there. It is a historic landmark. At any rate, something food for thought for on your left. We're still a little downhill, flat into downtown. Now, right here, whoops, right here, right there, we begin a good solid, whoops, I'm not there yet. We begin a good solid uphill right here, right there. Begins a good solid uphill. That's 3rd Street. 3rd Street, I wish I could, maybe I could make this a little bigger here. Um, right there is excuse me, that's where am I here? I am sorry. I got it wrong. This is 3rd Street right here. That's 3rd Street right here. And that's where, wait, you can kind of see it. You're coming around right there is where the hill really begins. 3rd Street goes up that street and then levels out a bit. And then you go up Hill Street. Well, that's a bit of a hill there. Whoops. Oh, I've gone too far. Then you go up Hill Street and then you hit 1st Street, which is more uphill. That's like the biggest hill on the entire marathon right there. You're at the top of the hill. To your left, a catty corner across the street is the Disney Hall. And after you turn right, to your left will be the Music Center. So you're already kind of at the top of the hill there, and then you're about to go flying way, way downhill, down Temple right over here. But let's take a step back. This hill right here, and then this hill right here, 3rd Street and 1st Street with the little break in between, sort of, that is relatively flat, but it's a very short period. You can't really see it very well on the elevation chart, but this hill is a really good solid hill. And this hill, 1st Street, is a really good solid hill. This Saturday, right in the middle, right about where my dot is, we're going to have a water table right there on First Street, halfway up. To your right will be the courthouse. To your left is really nothing. But then again, the top of the hill is Disney Hall. You take a right, fairly flat going through past the Music Center and all of that, this street on Grand. But then you go way down to here. That's an overpass that you're looking at. As soon as you go, oh wait, it goes all the way down to, where is it? Right about this one. There we go. As soon as you go underneath that overpass, look what happens. Now you got a big ass uphill again. Whoops, you can't see it because it's off the chart. You got, here's Temple, all this is downhill, and now you got all this, let me move to my elevation chart, all this uphill, which is a big solid uphill. But look at this. It's almost a mile uphill, but then you're going over the freeway, right? You take a right turn going over the freeway, right where that dot is. You're still going up. Then you take a left onto a side street and right in here. And for a little bit, right in there, you're still going up. I mean, from that overpass, whoops, right about there, you got about a good mile plus of uphill, kind of like Amalfi, kind of like that's in Santa Monica, kind of a lot like Malfi, a lot in Griffith Park, it would be a lot like what we call Godzilla, that hill that goes up from the travel town to the top of the hill there. Those two are very similar in height, in elevation, and in length. So you got right out of the gate. Then you got Third Street. Then you got First Street, and then you got the big one at like mile 4 1/4 or whatever to 5.5 or whatever. Then you got the big one going up Temple. Okay, so that's why the first 6 miles are really the key to the LA Marathon. But let's continue on. So now from about here, you're now going down a nice, good downhill. That's a serious downhill. Let me move my map over. Um, right in here, it's a really good downhill to Echo Park Pond. And take a look right over here on the pond is they usually have the water shooting up the I call it the sprinkler, but it's like this 30-foot geyser, this man-made thing they usually have on during the LA Marathon. I think one year, years and years ago, they forgot to turn it on, or they were draining the pond or something. I don't know. Anyway, they almost always have it on. But then right around here, at toward the end of the pond, almost the end of the pond, you hit the 10K mark. You're a quarter of the way through your marathon. You are behind schedule. If you're anywhere in groups, call it 4 hour to about 5.5, maybe even almost 6 hour marathon groups, you're probably a good 7, almost 10% behind schedule. So if you're a 10-minute per mile marathoner and you're supposed to be at 60 minutes in, let's call it 62 minutes at 10K, right? The end of the pond there, where you reach the 10K, there will be a sign that says 10K. There will be a sign that says 6 miles. So if you're a 10-minute per miler and you reach the 10K and you're supposed to be at 62 minutes, add 7+ minutes to that, you'll probably be at like 69, 70 minutes into your race, and you're supposed to be at like 62. No, you want to be at like 69, 70, maybe even 71 minutes. Otherwise, you're going to be tired and you got 20 minutes, 20 miles left to go. That's why this is really the key to the LA Marathon. if you keep going right in here, you got a little like a tenth of a mile uphill. You can't really see it on the elevation chart, but right in there where my dot is going up to Sunset, you'll experience it Saturday. Going up to Sunset, you have a little uphill, but when you hit Sunset, take an assessment. You've already looked at your time. Take an assessment of how you feel. You've already assessed your time, at the 10K at the end, sort of the end of the pond when you see that 10K mark or the 6 mile mark, whatever. The 6 mile mark is kind of like halfway up the pond, like in here somewhere. At any rate, right on Sunset, how do you feel? If you're feeling like, hey, I could have gone way faster through that first 6 miles, and absolutely you could, because remember, you got 80 to 90 minutes of glycogen, a little higher heart rate than even half marathon race pace, what we call lactate threshold, a little higher than even half marathon race pace. Which may be about only 10 seconds or more faster than marathon race pace. Regardless, if you're feeling like, God, I just feel like I'm just getting started, perfect. That's exactly where you want to be. Oh, I just moved my microphone over. I hope you could hear me before. At any rate, that's exactly where you want to be in your race, feeling like, damn it, I just got started. That rotten David, I could have gone way faster. That's where you want to be. Be mad at me, I'm fine with that. But that's where you want to feel. You want to feel like I'm just getting started. I'm feeling really good. I'm going to kick the heck out of this race because I'm already a quarter of the way through it and I'm feeling okay. Good for you. Um, Now, Saturday, I'm going to just go to the map for a second, forget the elevation chart. There is a little uphill on Sunset in this area as we kind of progress on the route. But at any rate, you take a left turn on race day. Saturday, we're going to take a right turn and we're going up a big hill. But as soon as you hit Sunset, I want all the groups to just slow it down. You're no longer doing what you're going to do on race day. You're just trotting up the hill. You're just logging a few miles. It doesn't matter anymore. You're off the course. The course goes to the left. You're going to the right. So look where the stadium is. Let me back up here a little bit. There you go. You're now here. Now you're going back to the stadium, which is over here. This is Vin Scully Way, which you came down originally. You will go out the stadium on Vin Scully Way. You got this little like 1 mile from where you're going to hit Sunset all the way down Sunset. This is all Sunset. You hit Vin Scully Way. You take a left on Vin Scully Way, and you're almost back into the parking lot and home. Now, for groups 4 hours and faster, we want you guys, you're going 11 miles. You're actually going back to the starting line. You'll get water at a water table at the starting line. For everyone else, there will be a water table on the corner of Stadium Way and Vin Scully Way, right where my little blue dot is. And then you guys are taking a left turn on the sidewalk on Stadium Way, and then you'll take a right turn on, I believe this is Scott. Let's see here. I think that's Scott. Yeah, Scott Avenue. And then you're coming back to Stadium Way, and then right back into Vin Scully, and you're going back to the start finish area. And right in this area in here, this kind of non-parking lot area, right, actually the first row of the parking lot, right in there, is where we're going to have our expo. And the big hill is, as soon as you take that left, the big hill out of the stadium is right there, is right there. That big hill right there. And even this little leg there, that's all leaving the stadium. This is Stadium Way, should be, oh, it's right here. So all that is kind of an uphill getting out of the stadium. Yeah. You do have a little downhill in here, but really not much. At any rate, and then it goes up again. Um, so that is our Saturday, and that is a tour of the first 6 miles. This little area in here that you'll do on Saturday, that's just an addition to the just get in a log a few extra miles. Just take them slow. Forget about race pace. You're back to easy pace. Now, doing the first 6 miles, keep in mind you're not going to be at race pace. You're going to be doing what you're going to be doing on race day, right? Because all those uphills, you got way more uphills than down. Mm, um, you want to be behind schedule when you hit sunset the second time. When you hit sunset and you're done, and race day, you take a left, and in this case, you take a right to come back to the stadium. But you want to do what you're going to do on race day. Keep in mind, we need to stop at every traffic light that turns red. We can only run through where, it says it's okay to walk because we don't want anyone hit by a car because the streets are open this Saturday. Marathon Day, obviously, all the streets are closed. But this Saturday, it's a lot of money to close these streets, and we can't do that this Saturday. Obviously, we do own the parking lot of the stadium, so we can use the parking lot. That's how the McCourt Foundation does control the parking lot, not the stadium, but the parking lot. So we have a very good relationship with the stadium people. At any rate, we do have to abide by their our permitting. But at any rate, for the stadium, regardless, um, you may want to set your watch to auto pause. So whenever you stop for a traffic light, you'll see your time and your accurate running only or run, walk, or walk time. Keep in mind, I mentioned groups like 4 hours to 5:30 or maybe even six, about 7 to 10% slower than what you're going to do race day. Um, the fastest and the slowest groups, 4 hours and faster, and say 5:30 or 6 and slower, including our walking groups, you guys are only going to be like somewhere between like 2.5 to 5% slower through these first, call it 10K of the LA Marathon, because you don't have as much leeway to speed up that much at the end of the marathon. So the middle paced groups are going to be slowing down the most because they also have the capacity to speed up the most at the end of the marathon, where the fastest and the slowest groups can't slow down quite as much. You're still going to be slower, like I said, about 2.5 to 5% slower, but not 7 to 10, like kind of the middle range groups. Got it? The run, or like 5 hour and run walk groups, roughly. Um, there you go. So that's what we're doing with the LA Marathon. The first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. Now let me talk about the importance of taper. And here we go. Hopefully that being behind schedule and not going out too fast, not following everybody in the race who's going out too fast. Hopefully that really hit home because again, you only have like 80, 90 minutes of glycogen at a little higher than race pace, or even half marathon race pace, but still, um, we're talking heart rate. Um, so be really careful on those first 6 miles, especially even later on in the race, but especially those first 6 miles, 10K, call it. Um, a hair over 10K, actually. Now, the end taper, right? We're on a taper this week, and then next week is your last build week, like I already said. The final 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks, if you're 4 hours or faster, but the final couple weeks, um, you gain, according to one study from, I'm using a study from Bath University, about, God, I want to say about 15 years ago. I haven't seen much updates from this, but you gain This is just from taper, just from the proper taper as created on the schedule. Follow the schedule for taper. If you follow the schedule for no other week of the entire season, follow it during taper. You gain 0.5%, all right, half a 1%, to 6 or even 7% increase in energy output on marathon race day. I mean, if you're really, really up in volume and you're just beating yourself senseless and now you're coming way down for a taper, you can get that kind of, possibly get that kind of like 6, maybe even 7% increase in energy output on race day. Now, what does increase in energy output on race day mean? That means your race is either going to be easier or your race is going to be faster or both. Whatever you decide to do on race day, that's what you will have, that capacity, that level, higher level of fitness to do it. Now, being the parent and coach that I am, pretty much a synonymous type of thing, parenting, coaching. I got to tell you guys, you will be better off on race day if you get right starting now, because you got a build week coming up, and that build week is going to require rebuilding muscle tissue, rebuilding hormone. That's where you do it, is sleep. You rebuild most muscle tissue during and cellular reproduction during the first hour of sleep. But if you can get in 8 to 9 hours of sleep, for us endurance athletes, you will gain the most from your training, from recovery during sleep. That's where you put in all this hard work, you really gain the benefits of the hard work during recovery, during sleep, during taper. That's where you build. You don't build from breaking yourself down doing the extra work. You build from recovery during sleep and taper. Okay. So 8 to 9 hours of sleep from now on. I know. You're all about ready to pull out a gun and shoot me. Fortunately, I'm not in your home or near you. But at any rate, here's another one. Try and wean yourself off alcohol. Alcohol is a diuretic. It can take about 10 days or so to completely get alcohol out of your system. Whatever you do, do not like celebrate your victory the night before the marathon. Let's down a couple beers. Hey man, let's down like 6 beers or something. We'll do whiskey shots. I'm 20 years old. I can run the marathon. No, 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 no. Yes, there are people who do this, but alcohol is a diuretic. You do not want to start your marathon dehydrated. Um, get off of alcohol at least 10 days, if not 2 weeks, which is almost 2 weeks from now, gang. Um, no more alcohol. And if everybody wants to go out and party, go with them. And then you can say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't drink because I'm training for my marathon. And everyone will be like, huh? Oh, you can have a drink. Nope, don't do it. Same thing with caffeine. If you really want to use caffeine, which I do, it's great. It's probably the most efficient um, sports enhancing drug there is. To most levels, it's legal, but even illegally, it may be one of certainly the most beneficial sports enhancing drugs. There's caffeine. You're talking coffee, you know. But in order to really benefit from using caffeine, you can imagine you need to get off of it for like 3, 4 weeks, which is coming up, gang. Um, but slowly, it is a drug. So you will go through withdrawal symptoms unless you slowly don't go cold turkey, or you get really bad headaches. You'll start getting jittery. You know what I mean? You go through drug withdrawal symptoms. Slowly reduce your intake, maybe a quarter cup a day less, maybe half a cup a day less. I mean, if you're doing like, a cup or two a day or something. And after a short period of time, I mean, if you're a 5 cup a dayer, you may want to take a shot at half a cup a day less. In 10 days, you'll be off caffeine, off coffee, you'll be off caffeine, and then try and stay off of it. I know it is an addictive, coffee is addicting because of the caffeine, like any drug. Um, but like any drug, it stimulates dopamine levels, which stimulate adrenaline. So if you take in a gel with like any amount of caffeine and you've been off caffeine for a couple of weeks, like 3, 4 weeks, that increase in dopamine, which stimulates the pleasure centers of your brain, and you're going to feel really good and or better. And it'll stimulate adrenaline, which fakes your subconscious brain to think you have way more fuel than you really do. So you can suddenly speed up because your subconscious brain, and this is another topic we've already had earlier in the season, your subconscious brain has a governor that slows you down, or when you hit the wall, get low enough in glycogen, carbohydrate, low enough in glycogen that call it sugar, carbohydrate that resides in the muscles called glycogen. At any rate, when you get low enough of that, you hit the wall. Your subconscious brain shuts you down. The caffeine will say, "Oh, hey, no, we're not low. We're doing great." And you'll be able to continue and push through even though you're low in glycogen. Um, because of that caffeine, because of that added adrenaline. It's like when you're really, really exhausted and a giant black bear, brown bear, I think they are, is coming up behind you and it's got big claws and fangs. I don't care how tired you are, you're going to run like hell. That's the benefits from adrenaline. That's what caffeine will give you. Got the picture? Okay. Um, your mother was right. Eat your vegetables and healthy foods the next couple weeks. Certainly, it takes 3 days for food to fully digest and go through your entire system. So, at least the last 3 days of your training before the marathon, 3 days before the marathon, that would be Thursday before the marathon, before the Sunday race, start eating more vegetables, get in those micronutrients as well as all your macronutrients, the healthy fats, the healthy carbohydrates with fiber, fruits with fiber, not just like fruit drink or whatever it is that's just all sugar. You want the fiber to slow your uptake of sugar into glycogen at any rate. Um, Healthy fats, healthy carbohydrate, and also healthy proteins, right? Um, if you're a vegan, as I am, there are tons of healthy proteins, soy. Um, I eat a lot of lentils. I eat a lot of green peas, great sources of healthy protein. Soy, in several different forms. Um, Lentils and green peas, great stuff. Um, the final week, and we're going to be discussing this later again, but not much. The final week of your 3 week or 2.5 week or less of taper, um, you want to, the last week you go, whatever Monday was the week before, you do the Monday of the last week. And then you drop your volume down and down and down and down to Friday, the day before, 2 days before. So if Monday, the week before, you did like 40, 50 minutes, the Monday, the week of the race, you do 40, 50 minutes. If it was an easy pace run, which it probably was, you do an easy pace run. If you're a faster group and it had some speed work in it, you do an easy pace with the speed work in it. Whatever you do that day of the week, if Wednesday was your speed day, you do Wednesday speed day. But Monday is 50 minutes or 40 minutes, then Tuesday is 40 or 30 minutes. Then Wednesday, maybe your speed work day will be 30 or 20 minutes. And then Thursday, you got 20 minutes or so. And then Friday, zero. Nothing on Friday whatsoever. You may want to get in a final strength training workout either Tuesday, Thursday. Um, you could maybe, whichever is the shorter day, you could do it that day. At any rate, Tuesday may for many of you be a day off. That's okay. If it's a day off, take the day off. Then taper down on Wednesday again. Um, but Friday, zero. You can walk around, you can stay, be at work, but uh, pretty much nothing Friday. Saturday, we will do, and this is important for your that 0.5 to 6% increase of energy output on race day. Saturday, the day before the race, in the morning, not in the afternoon, but the best would be race time. The race goes off at, I think, 6:50 or 7 o'clock, something like that. Um, Somewhere around 7 o'clock in the morning. Um, we will have a 10-minute run from the expo, from Dodger Stadium. Actually, we may not do it until 8 o'clock because the expo, I believe, opens at 10. Maybe we'll do it at 8:30, something like what we did for the half marathon. We will do again um, on race the day before the marathon at Dodger Stadium this time. We'll start pretty much near the starting line and we'll run around for, 5 minutes up, 5 minutes down, whatever it is. And we'll have to be very careful with cars. We'll probably just stay in the back part of the stadium. But regardless, we'll do that the day before the marathon Saturday. So please join us for that. And then you could get your bib number on Saturday or do it at home, sleep in a little bit and do it at home on your own instead of waking up a little early to come down to Dodger Stadium and get your bib number on Friday. After that, after you leave the expo, get off your feet, watch a movie on marathoning. We'll put a couple of YouTube free videos out there for you guys to watch or whatever. So there you go. And oh, there is already a 26-minute YouTube video on what we've already discussed. This will be online recorded version if you want to watch it again. And there's more video on the LA Marathon already online, the part B and C, if you want to watch that before we do that again, uh, that I will be doing in weeks to come. So, periodization, you've seen this chart before. I'm only going to really briefly because you've seen it before. As your speed work goes up, as your low intensity work goes up, oh, I got it backwards. As your high intensity work goes up, as your low intensity work goes up, and then drops, even after all of these workouts drop in volume way, way down, exponentially, we call it. It's an exponential drop in volume, right? Big drop in volume, which we do. Your tra- your fitness levels, your ability to go faster on race day is increasing, right? It's your ability is increasing, just like I said, that 0.5 to 6% increase on just during taper. That's what's going on. There's a graphic example of that. You're getting more muscle tissue. You're rebuilding strength, I should say. You're rebuilding hormone levels. So you got more energy from hormones. Hormones like human growth hormone are helping you rebuild the muscle tissue. That all goes hand in hand. And if you're getting in more sleep, like 8 to 9 hours, you're even getting more benefit from this taper period where you're still increasing in ability. Okay. At any rate, enough of that. Um, this is, the whole schedule that we've been doing. You saw this before. The very end, again, we build, we taper, we build, we taper, we build, we taper. We call it energy expenditure. You could call it volume. And then what you can barely see in the background here, the dark brown line, are your hormone levels. They all work in opposition. So when you're doing more, your hormone levels are going down. When you're doing less, your hormone levels are going up. Got it? So it's just a graphic example of the entire season. That's how this whole training thing works. So you're getting more and more and more hormone levels and more and more fitness and more strength and more endurance, more and more capillary veins and arteries, mitochondria, oxidative enzymes. The entire season, all of these different runs and run walks and walks you've been doing, you're building what we call endurance and fitness. So race day, if you got your taper down right, race day, look at this line. It's way through the roof. You're gonna, you know, you heard people that go nuts the final taper because their hormone levels are just so extraordinarily high and they're ready to like shoot through the roof and like punch out a wall. Well, look at where your hormone levels are. When you do it right on race day, you can put it all into that race, all into that race. That's how this whole season, that's how it works. And like I said, everyone benefits from at least 2 weeks of taper. It takes at least 10, listen to this, it takes at least 10 to 14 days for an exercise, a workout to create the adaptations that we refer to as fitness, meaning those physiological changes from what we call endurance, more capillary veins and arteries, mitochondria, oxidative enzymes, that's endurance. Those physiological changes after a workout take 10 to 14 days. So if you're within 2 weeks, I hear a lot of people, I got a week left. I'm going to do my final 20-mile run. I didn't get to do it before because I was working, I was sick, I was injured, whatever the reason. You do that 20-mile run and you're going to end up with less on race day and you will end up with zero benefits from that 20-mile run or whatever it is, longer distance a week before, or even within that 10 to 14 day period. Everyone's metabolism is a little different. Um, we evolve at slightly different rates. Um, you're get zero benefits and you're going to lose. So don't, if you hear somebody say, yeah, this weekend they're a week before the race or a week and a half before the race, I'm going to do a 20 miler this week. No, you're going to end up with less on race day, not more. So, because it takes time to metabolize or use that workout to generate physiological and neurological changes in your body to adapt, is the word I'm thinking of. Um, no other period can give you as much of an increase in fitness on race day than during the final taper. Let me say that again. No other period in training can give you as much of an increase in fitness or ability on race day as the final taper. I don't care if you did a 20-mile run or not. Got the picture? Is that amazing to think about? Doing less will give you more on race day. No questions about it. Now, proper final week, taper to zero, like I said, 2 weeks before the race, like Friday. Then the little kicker the day before gives you that 0.5% to 6, 7%. The average person, I think I had it on, oh, here it is, up here, number 3. The average person during that final taper period will increase at least 3% in their fitness levels, their overall ability on race day. 3% is pretty extraordinary volume of increase in fitness or ability for race day. Um, I mean, what's 3% of 5 hours? I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of time there. So, well, 10% of 5 hours would be what? I don't know. I'm terrible with math. I'm not even going to attempt that one. At any rate, um, we've already talked about week tapers and hormones and the final exponential taper and how important it is. So I'm going to just dive over that. Here we go, really quick, and then I'm done. Create a ritual for race day, right? Create a ritual. A lot of people will wear a religious pendant and before they start the race. They'll have a moment to themselves, surrounded by people, surrounded by their pace group people. Um, they'll have a moment, be it in Dodger Stadium. Usually it'll be on the starting line, waiting for the national anthem and then for the gun to go off and all of that. And they'll put their hand on their pendant and maybe they'll say a prayer, maybe not. Then maybe they just have a moment of silence. Um, but come up with a ritual. It doesn't have to be a religious ritual. Um, I have a ritual, my own. I imagine running with my dog, who I loved. She's passed, but I just kind of imagine her there, and that's my ritual. Um, because we used to run together all the time, and it was a lot of fun. But find a ritual like mine that makes you feel kind of like you're at home and energizes you, gives you a sense of spirituality, maybe, which is what my ritual does. Um, there was a basketball player. I've used this analogy not long ago. I heard this story from a lecture I had with a sports psychologist. One of those videos you can get. At any rate, or online. At any rate, he tells the story of a pro basketball player who would, whenever he would shoot a free throw, he'd line up at the line and he would dribble the ball once. He would hold it, look at it, dribble the ball again, hold it for a second or two, look at it, dribble the ball again, hold it, and then he'd shoot his free throw, right? And somebody finally asked him, well, it's always the same dribble, hold, dribble, hold 3 times. And he asked him, why three? Why do you hold and look at it? He said, I'm thinking about my 3 kids. I'm doing it for them. It's that kind of thing, that kind of emotionality that will give you focus and clarity and make you feel at home and relaxed and yet motivated to get your start of your race. Come up with a ritual that you empowers you with something like that. Um, Also, before your race, the next couple of weeks, come up with these ideas. Start going over the race in your head, both the good and the bad, because if you say you drop a water bottle or something that you needed, you'll have a backup plan. And when things go wrong, oh, big deal. I have extra gels. I have extra mineral pills, whatever it is. You're ready for everything. So imagine your entire race going great. And also imagine something goes wrong. Oh, all right, race day, it went wrong, big deal. I'm ready for it. Um, Also, invent an idea that you can kind of put this idea in your back pocket. You could write it down or not. It doesn't mean to be a physical idea. Just imagine it and an idea that really will give you a lot of emotion. Because again, similar to caffeine, big emotion will spike big adrenaline, right? Like I mentioned, the bear chasing you, fear, that's a big emotion. That's going to get you, I don't care how tired you are, you're going to be sprinting the finish line. Um, but it doesn't have to be fear. It could be, I see people crossing the finish line with enormous sadness and tears rolling down their faces, and they're racing across the finish line to stopping and just tears. Um, I see people in the finish line that are laughing hysterically as they fly across the finish line. They're generating more adrenaline. I see people you could your story in your head, it could be real or fictional, could be rage, that boyfriend or girlfriend that was abusive when you were much, much younger and then broke up with you. And oh my God, they're right behind me. I'm going to kick their ass. They're not really there. It's totally fictional. But in your head, you've got this thing in your back pocket. I'm getting tired. I got a last mile to go. I'm pulling out this idea. I'm planting it in my head. And damn that, I'm going for the finish line, and watch that adrenaline rush and watch yourself speed up. Okay. Use the environment around you. Imagine there was a pro athlete I heard about in a lecture that raised her arms out to the side. She was feeling really heavy and slowing down the last few miles of her marathon, of her race. It was actually a 10K, a triathlon, an Olympic distance triathlon, I believe. But she imagined herself flying like a bird, and people witnessed this. Like, what the hell is this woman doing with her arms straight out to her side? And she started running lighter and she started speeding up, even though she was really fatigued and her legs were fatigued and her muscles were tired. She started speeding up and she appeared to be running lighter. It was the imagery that she gave herself of being a bird. She was flying, right? Um, you could imagine the warmth of the sun. Sun will give a solar collector energy. You can imagine yourself as a solar collector. The sun is giving you energy. I want the energy. I feel it, the warmth of the sun. And imagine that energy from the universe. Use your imagination to give you energy, to spike your adrenaline, all of that for the last few miles. But now come up with those things that you could have in your back pocket that when you need them, you will plant them and use them in your head for race day. The ritual, the even what you're going to wear on race day, you know, um, and make sure that you know what you're going to, put it all out on Saturday morning, even Friday morning possibly, but know what you're going to race now and run with it, just practice with it, and also that those ideas that you're going to have to get you to the finish line and your ritual, like I said. So with that, I always say train smart and train to win, because if you don't, you won't, and if you do, you just might win, that is. Um, I thank you all, and I will see you all at the finish line because I will be in that finish area at the LA Marathon. I will be at the start, and then I drive to the finish, and I will see you all there. And that exciting day is almost upon us. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And if anyone has any questions about anything that I just said, we'll keep the recording going for a few more minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll answer questions, individual questions about anything else besides today's topic. Clarissa, I thank you. Thank you for your thank you. Let me check the chat. We have a couple different things. Um, Michael asks, is the McCourt Foundation LA 5K too much to do on Saturday before the marathon if we take it slow? You know, I mean, it's all it depends on how well you want to do on the LA Marathon. I mean, you can always do the 5K and like walk the first mile and then do the rest at marathon race pace or do all of it at easy pace. I mean, you really don't want to do too much. You could do maybe 20 minutes at marathon race pace and up to that, wherever you'll be, 20 minutes. Do that slower or walk it and then speed up to marathon race pace for that's where the day before the LA 5K is the day before the marathon. So you could do 10, 20 minutes at marathon race pace during the 5K, and there's your little kicker. Walk it out a little before that or jog before that last 10 to 20 minutes of the 5K. Bammo, it's great. Um, you're basically the 5K runs the hills that we did pretty much before. You'll see when we were at Dodger Stadium last time, that's pretty much the LA 5K. It's a little hilly, but yeah, you could do it. If you've signed up already, go for it. Have fun. An enjoyable experience. A lot of people there. It's huge. If not, you could join us for the freebie 10-minute run and then hang out and go through the expo and all that. You will have to go through the expo to get your 5K bib number on Friday. So you can do the 5K. You'll have to be there Friday, so you might as well get all of it on Saturday. But then you'll be there on Saturday again because you'll be finishing the 5K. So whatever. Keep it reasonable. Mel, thank you, coach, for emphasizing the importance of taper weeks, exclamation point. I used to not follow taper weeks, exclamation point. It's taking time to realize how important it is. Mel, thank you very much. Mel is the new kid on the block who's been with us for several years now, kind of. And he's a sub 3 hour marathoner. I think he finished at like 351 or something like that. Oh, excuse me, 251 last year. 251, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Almost broke 250. Anyway, Donna, what if you haven't run 20 miles in the training period? Fine. I am still building up and will be running 14, 16 miles this weekend for the first time this training season. Keep in mind, a lot of pro athletes never run a 20 miler. I know for a fact Meb Kovleski never ran more than 16 miler. Um, it's more about total volume that you do in a week, that you slowly build up to that week. It has nothing whatsoever to do with one day. If you went out and beat yourself to heck and did a 20 miler and nothing else, you'd be lousy on race day. Let's face it. I think anyone that would be obvious to. But you don't need, I know there's this thing, I didn't do a 20 miler. We need to do a 20 miler. I know, I get it. Pro athletes don't train that way. Meb would get up to 140 miles in a week, but he only got, and the only reason he got up to 16 miles is because he just enjoyed running more volume. He enjoyed running longer in a single session. And his coach said, okay, guy named Bob, oh God, he lives in Brentwood. Um, I used to run into him all the time. Anyway, great, brilliant coach, PhD in exercise physiology, brilliant coach. Um, and he said several times to me, Meb Kovleski never had a long run. He just spread it all out. 140 miles in a week at peak, but he just spread it out. So, do you need, I know a training program in Michigan, the Hanson brothers, they wrote a whole book on it, the Hanson Method or something like that. You can pick it up at any bookstore. The longest they have their people do is 16 miles. But again, it's all about volume. So their people are doing more volume midweek. The problem with the Roadrunners, and I say this very openly, is very consistently I get that people cannot do more than, say, an hour midweek because they have these things called jobs. A lot of people have children. A lot of people have other commitments. They're working late, long hours, whatever it is. So we tend to load, we non-pro athletes especially, we tend to load more onto the weekend. The most efficient schedules I have ever done for individuals when I was coaching individuals, and I saw it very, very, very clearly, is when everything got broken up so that people would recover more efficiently after each run. In other words, you'd run in the morning, you'd run in the evening, you run in the morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, evening. And then weekend, same deal. Maybe one day on Sunday, one run on Sunday, you take the morning or the evening off. Those people who did that and then said, this morning evening thing is killing me. Can I go back to when they went back to one run a day? They were never as fast as when they were breaking it all up and evening it out. More efficient. That's how pro athletes train. That's why they train that way. So the fact you're not doing a 20 miler, good. That's why. I really believe that. Um, I used to get our training program in Griffith Park up to like 16 miles. That was the longest they would do. They had way more volume midweek. And we had like, I want to say it was like a 60, 80% PR rate there. I mean, it was extraordinary. We just can't do that with Roadrunners. It just, people would not be able to follow the schedule. So you can't do a 20 miler. Oh my God. Good. I could even go into a mathematical equation and explain why you don't want to do that way. But at any rate, Clarissa, thank you so much. Clarissa, thank you. I missed the first part. Will you be sending out the recording? Absolutely. It's recording even while we're talking right now. The recording will download as soon as I'm done, and I will post it on our Facebook site. But it will also be on our YouTube channel. So you'll get the link on our LA Roadrunners dash group page. You can click on the link there to our YouTube page, or just go right to the YouTube page, and you'll get it's really the top icon for this whole thing, this lecture. Heather, as a member of LA Roadrunners, I saw that we get Start Corral B. Is that for all paces or just up to a certain expected time? Do we know when that means we would typically start cross the starting line? Well, Corral A is really pro athletes. Um, Corral A is 320 and faster. Corral B is 330 to 350. Now, here's the deal. Um, and it's an important thing to understand. Um, we can't have race day. Our pace leaders are in charge of all of the runners, all of the athletes throughout the entire race. So we can't have our pace leaders start in Corral B unless they're 330 to 350 finish time, right? Because that's what Corral B is essentially designed for. Now, if you're a roadrunner, you do get any roadrunner, any pace, you can start in Corral B. I guarantee it though, and I've heard horror stories. I've experienced it myself. Years ago, they had all of us roadrunners start in Corral B, and this is what I experienced. I hated it. I was like, why are we here? I don't know. I did not want to be in Corral B, even though they said for like I think 2 years we all roadrunners started in Corral B, all the pace leaders. We were not the official pace leaders back then. Now we are. It's a very different experience for pace leaders, but I hated it. Um, they're 330 to 350 marathoners. You know, you're talking 8 minute per mile pace to about 845, 850 pace, something like that. And they would bump your shoulder. They would yell, "Get the hell out of the way." You know, it was not a good place to be. If you want to be with your group, if you want to be with your pace leader, you want to go to the appropriate corral, be it open corral or closed corral. We will be duplicating pace leaders. We will have pace leaders in the A corral, 3 hours, maybe even 255, but certainly 3 hours to 320 in the A corral. That's where the guys who win the race start, A corral, or like right in front of it. Um, we will have 330 to 5 hour spread out in all of those corral B through D, excuse me, corral B through E. There's an E corral. It's 330 to 5 hour. And then in the open corral, we're going to have a duplicate series of pace leaders, 330 again, all the way back to, the slowest walker, right? 8 hour. I think we have an 8 hour finish time, Kathy and company, and they'll be at like the 8 hour way back there to help out those people who are finishing 8 hours who aren't even road runners, right? Got it? So you're going to be running with your pace leader and your group with a lot of other people. There's 22,000 people on the starting line, you know. Um, Mel said his finish time was 2:52. I stand corrected, not 2:51, like I said, 2:52. So, getting back to Heather's question, yes, you can get easily stand in the bib pickup line for Corral B, and you can get a bib that says B and then your number on it, and you can get a Corral B bib, right? Um, I don't recommend it unless you're 330 to 350. Keep in mind there are people that buy Roadrunners just to get into Corral B. It's a thing. There aren't that many who do it, but it's a thing. They also get into like the stadium and the Rose Bowl. They get the underground and the locker room and all that kind of stuff. There are people that buy Roadrunners, not a lot, like I said, but there are some, and they benefit from that. But do I recommend you jump into Corral B? Hell no. Unless you're a 3:30 to 3:50 finish time marathoner. And then, yeah, absolutely. Corral B is yours. We are getting Roadrunners into Corral A who are going to finish sub 3 hours to 3:20 marathon finish time. Will get them an A bib. They're groups 0 and 1A and 1B. Those three groups, which are really only two groups, truthfully, 0 and 1. But they'll be in Corral A. At any rate, there are only a few of them, like a handful of Roadrunners that will get into that corral, including pace leaders. Um, so that's it. One new, let's see. Mel is going for a 2:49. Go, Mel. I love it. I look forward to seeing you at the finish line, Mel, I will definitely see you there. Um, Donna, understood. Thank you, coach. Donna, thank you. And yeah, don't worry about the 20 miler. It's more about what you can do in the whole week. Um, yeah, at any rate. And where you are in training is where you are in racing. Race day, you just take where you are in training and you execute. There's no magic pill. I'm going to push myself harder and I'm going to work harder and do all the stupid things. No, wherever you are in training, lock it in. That's where you want to be on race day. That's what you want to do on race day. That's why we're doing the 6 miles, um, you know, of the LA Marathon. So just get used to the feeling of running up that hill. Screw it up this Saturday. No one cares. Race day, you'll care. At any rate, enough of that. We're still recording. Any other questions from anybody about what we've already talked about? And then we'll turn off the recording and answer any personal questions, whatever. Any other questions about the race course or whatever? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. And for those of you watching the recording, I'm going to say good night. For those of you watching live, hang on, I'm going to stay on live. But for everyone with the recording, good night, you guys. And we will see you all at the finish line. I'm already getting nervous, and I'm not even running the darn thing. We'll see you at the finish line. Bye, everybody.